Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Before we continue this conversation, let's just sample a few of your feedback. And that, of course, is in regards to this conversation as well as our question of the day. And the question of the day rather is, what do you think the government needs to do to ensure SHA works? Remember, there's a directive by the CS for Health, Edinburgh Dwale, yesterday in regards to the biometric authorization. And let's just get a few of your feedback now. There we go. Lynette Atieno from Kisii says, don't just announce SHA in urban centers, take it to rural schools, churches and markets. That is Lynette Atieno from Kisii County. We do have George Kariuki from Embu. He says, incentivize community champions to promote SHA goals. The government can't do it alone. That is George Kariuki from Embu County. I don't know if you can have another one. Sheiks Sally says, no need. The government knows it's a scam. SHA is owned by the corrupt regime. Okay, Kenya Kwisha and milked dry before the dregs are thrown to few medical facilities. The Auditor General has said it time and again. If we can have one more. Figa George says SHA is covering very little in public hospitals. There are no supplies. Patients have to buy medicines, radiology services from private clinics on cash. Under SHA benefits are less. Under SHA rather, benefits are less compared to what NHIF used to cover. Now, do continue sending us your feedback. We'll be sampling them as the show progresses. Now, Honorable Gogoyo, you were talking about the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. Yesterday, the Kenya Human Rights Commission did release a report on the Hustler Fund. They called it or dubbed it Failing the Hustlers. Now, as a member of the party and a legislator elected under UDA party, where did it go wrong with the Hustler Fund? Because as it stands today, the defaulting rate is as high as 68.3%. The fund in itself, according to the report by RC rather, is that the fund is witnessing a net loss of around 71%. What went wrong with this Hustler Fund?
It's just simple, conflict of interest. The president is conflicted in that Hustler Fund. Full stop. He's conflicted in the Hustler Fund. The providers of this system, how it's operating, it's no longer what it was. Remember, when you're running a government, when the government wants to do probably what the bank does, provide a loan at a cheaper percentage, for it to run and to be sustainable, it must be devoid of conflict of interest. What has happened with the Hustler Fund, it is so conflicted in the presidency in a manner that is, it's just beyond measure. That is the long and short of the Hustler Fund. And let me tell you, that's a program we had agreed before the election. That program was cultured in a manner that it would have provided loans to groups and to individuals. But it was taken to a system that you get the loan via a phone system. One, it has a provider, it has a platform, and paid for. The resources that were going to the runners of the system was more than facilitating the individuals who are going to take the loans. Unsustainable. It could not have been sustainable. And they put in a lot of government funds to begin with. They even topped up through supplementary budgets. As we talk today, even in Bunge, the committees that should oversight this particular fund are not able to get any detail from the ministry. So CS Oparanya has inherited a problem. When he comes in, he tries to talk about the Hustler Fund. He said, again, my job, that was not what I was employed for. But remember, some of the people who have come in through the broad-based arrangement say we inherited the office, but we didn't inherit the problems. So the long and short, conflict of interest, and that is what has brought down the Hustler Fund.
So do you support the decommission of this particular fund? Because, like you said, rightly put it, the report also highlights the unsupported transactions and missing crucial documents that will enable the auditing of this particular fund.
I just don't agree with the decommissioning, one, but let us audit. Do a special audit to this fund, the Hustler Fund, and let not be just the Auditor General. Let's get special private agencies to help us unearth what has happened in the Hustler Fund, because it was supposed to be run by a system. The issue of credit scoring is a very good thing,
Okay.
which we employed in that thing, meaning if you can't pay for 1,000, we can't give you 5,000. What has happened with the Hustler Fund? People have borrowed that were not even in the platform. When you hear unsupported, is that they did not go through the system. They used another means. These are people within government who have manipulated officers within the ministry
Okay.
to get these funds. And I can tell you, it is a scandal of our lifetime. Whatever has happened with the Hustler Fund, based on what we had agreed, and it's very sad that the president keeps changing goalposts. Now you go to empowerment. Remember the real empowerment. We were to enable people in their hustles. What we were calling mama mboga, what we were calling boda boda, mtu wa kinyozi. We were to facilitate them to sustain their businesses at lower rate. And we agreed that our country is expensive in terms of loaning. Banks, commercial banks, or even Shylocks were the problem at that time. People identified that as part of the problem. But the solution...
Fair enough. You talked about the UDA manifesto, or the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and you said the problem is not the manifesto. The problem is the implementer, if I had you right or correct. The question is, the head of state accuses the opposition of not having an agenda. They say you lack an agenda. Your agenda is just one term. What policies do you have in place when, if at all, you take over office? Will you also still focus on the Kenya Kwanza manifesto to address to implement the issues, the policies, and the agenda that you had, the vision that you had, or will you come up with completely? Will there be an overhaul of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto?
The president says that we do not have a manifesto. We should bring our plan. Number one, we don't submit our plans to him. We submit them to Kenyans. Kenyans are aware of our roadmap to where we want to take the country. Number one, for us to sort out the issue of SHA, for us to sort out the issue of university funding, for us to sort out the issue of capitation, for us to stop the issue of extrajudicial killings, William Ruto must go. That is where we start. In our plan, we have a roadmap. But we will not submit our plans to the president. William Ruto has no moral authority. We are not seeking for his vote. What we are seeking for is to convince Kenyan how we will go home. But do we have alternatives to what he's doing? Number one, we shall abolish the housing levy. Once we take over government in 2027, we shall abolish the housing levy. Why? One, this was not supposed to be a levy. We were supposed to have what is called a refund. And Kenyans have said that they do not want the housing levy. Remember, Mahatma Gandhi said the customer is always right. Give the customer what he wants. Get private sector to do housing and cheap housing. Provide different models of housing as government and ask the private sector to do it. Remember why we need private sector. Today, GOK, Government of Kenya, has gone to a private person and told him, we have money called fuel levy. We collect this amount of money per month. We collect this amount of money per year. We estimate. We are requesting you, give us this money in advance and collect this one with a certain percentage. They have securitized the fuel levy so that it goes to the pending bills. You're aware?
Okay.
So why not get the private sector to do the houses? Why invest government people's money on houses? So number one, we shall abolish the housing levy. On SHA, NHIF had a working system that had weaknesses that did not need, it just needed a system improvement. We shall review the current structure of the SHA to enable people benefit out of the SHA. You saw what the lady wrote there, that don't take it to urban centers, take it to rural. Remember, health is a right under our constitution. At least primary. Even if we do not provide any other health, we should be able to provide primary health care.
Okay.
So we have a strategy, we have a roadmap, but we will not submit our roadmap to the president.
Fair enough. Let's talk a bit of politics now.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa. The unity of the opposition, they say the opposition is somewhat strangled. the question is, to begin with, on matters by elections. For example, the DAP Kenya is part of the opposition, and so is DCP. In Malava constituency, for example, both parties do have candidates for the by-election. Will you be fronting both candidates, or will you sit down and decide on which party will front a candidate?
We can go either, but as it is, DCP will have a candidate. DPBP will also have a candidate. It's also good to test the popularity of political parties. We are merging at the presidency. So the by-election here is a chance for us to have different candidates. Let's give people an opportunity to elect. You know, whether in DAP, whether in DCP, the agenda is one. Let's get the right candidate for Malava. And I think the people of Malava, from what I'm told, is that they are ready to elect. They do not want interference of their local politics. They want to elect their own leader. So it's not a major issue. We've had many by-elections. I have participated in several in the future. By-elections are places where political parties must show their strength. This is where you plan, you strategize, and you know one party to the other. As much as we will be in the same coalition, there must be strength in political parties.
Are you not then running the risk of splitting votes if at all probably ODM and UDA will decide to front one candidate?
From the information on the ground is that there are no votes for UDA. So I don't think we might split to ourselves, not to the president's party.
Okay. Now, these wrangles, especially within parties in the opposition, we know there are power struggles within DAPK. There's Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, there's Eugene Wamalwa and all that. When it gets to the biggest, or to the table now, in regards to the presidential flag bearer of the opposition, when it comes to 2027, there are concerns about the criteria. We've seen Fred Matiang'i say he will be going for the presidency, same with Martha Karua, same with Kalonzo Musyoka, same with Rigathi Gachagua. What criteria will the opposition use? Is it about numbers? Is it about the agenda? What is it about?
We shall use both scientific and you see, towards an election, there's a level of believability that a candidate must have. We'll apply both scientific, but also we will, like we say in our new slogan, is that we'll listen to the ground. Of course, amongst all of them, not everybody will be president. So we'll have one. And we shall not go for, we shall have an in-house arrangement that will provide us with a candidate who can secure votes across board. Somebody acceptable. And we shall all rally behind him. And we have no, as we talk, we have no preferred candidate, but at least we are in agreement that William Ruto must go. So him going, we must now have a candidate that we shall agree that it will not be a problem. Remember, in 2002, the candidate was decided a day two, the official day of unveiling a candidate. So we have the right time. We're also building up momentum. We are going through different places. We are running through the country. And you can also tell the people will come up with their opinions. Because you see, at the end of the day, you're subjecting a candidate to the Kenyans for an election. The beauty is that anybody who becomes a flag bearer of the united opposition, as we call ourselves, has an easy ride on William Ruto. Anytime. Anytime. Because you'll be dealing with a liar, come somebody with a plan. You will be dealing with somebody who has messed up Kenya, has dropped down institutions, and you're giving up people a solution to the same. You don't need to lie. You just need to do things as they ought to be done. And I want to promise you that we shall have one presidential candidate, be it Matiang'i, be it Kalonzo Musyoka, be it Rigathi Gachagua, be it Senator Seki, be it Martha Karua. We shall have one presidential. We have about 7 principles. Out of the 7, we shall have one presidential candidate. That one I want to assure you. We are in agreement, and it's not just any agreement. We are in a sure bet, rock tight agreement.
Now, this past weekend, we saw certain legislators, both from allied to the government and from the opposition, converging Caleb Amis's constituency.
Yes.
That is Saboti in Trans Nzoia County. And the message there was that there could be a formation of another alliance of young leaders here in the country in a bid to oust President William Ruto. Now, as a party, we've seen Edwin Sifuna, the SG of ODM party, coming out vocally to say they will not support the ODM party and they will resign if at all the party decides to back President William Ruto. Are these individuals that you're also seeking to, work with? Is Edwin Sifuna a person that you look at and you say, okay, we can be able to sit down and think our ideologies, we do share ideologies and, probably bring him to your fold?
Yeah, just like people of the faith. Sifuna believes in the one-term movement. He's anti-Ruto. And therefore, we could work with him anytime. We have no issues with him. His mindset is right. He's forthright. And I think that's a good senator to work with. I also want to say that remember, going to 2027 election, we want all like-minded people to work together with them. So we are ready anytime to work with people who believe in a cause, who also know that we have a problem, and to sort out the problem we must agree there is somebody who must not be elected to be president. And that is what Sifuna is simply saying. Caleb Amisi has said the same. Those are people who are progressive, irrespective of their political party's party leader position. They also have a thinking. And remember, that is now genuine democracy, where as an individual you must stand for something. For instance, the issue of saying Sifuna signed for, I think, the agreement between UDM and the ODM. True, he signed, but he didn't sign for killings. He didn't sign for abduction. And he's giving out his position. So going forward, we will work with such people. I would not say that there's anything that we have discussed as of now, but going forward, we want to work with like-minded people, people who believe in this country, and people who are young and who are looking at the future. Because the generation that has also been there in politics, we must agree that there are a number of things that have to change going forward.
Fair enough. But at the end of the day, the question is again, and I'll go back to the issue of agenda. You talked about abolishing the housing levy, for example. But on the issue of Hustler Fund, you said no. You think this is a good fund if it is worked on in the right way. It is a fund that can benefit millions of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, or young unemployed Kenyans, or women groups and youth groups and all that. Apart from that, Honorable Gungoyo, what other key things, for example, in the education sector? We've seen the capitation, according to CS Mbadi, that indeed the intended capitation is 22,000, but what is available is only 16,000. And there have been jitters in regards to what is the future of the education sector. This is a crucial sector. What would solve this mess in the education sector from where you sit as members of the opposition?
Number one, there was a task force that put in several recommendations on the new curriculum, the CBC, and it came up with a number of things. Now, what you need is to fund the CBC model. It needs a number of things. If given an opportunity, remember, for CBC to work, for instance, now in the JSS, you need every public primary school to have a science lab for you to say you're giving complete education. So number one is the funding of the university. The CS Mbadi says they have available 16 million. Stop those programs of empowerment, put in that money to education. By this year, on the commitment of GOK under President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, we should be funding about 32,000 shillings per child. Uhuru Kenyatta left it at 22. It was to increase because of other problems that come in with schools. Remember, this money is meant to do infrastructure. It is meant to do the issue of the utensils that they use within a school. It should provide literally everything. And so when you say if your education is a priority in your government, number one, you fund it properly. Mostly primary education is the most important. It is called primary because it is the most important. This is where a child develops the brain, shapes the thinking. This is where they can tell this is the direction they want to take. So number one, fund it 100%. Remove other programs. Education of a nation is so important. Education is the passport to the future, like Nelson Mandela would say. So just fund it 100%. Number two, sort out the issue of university education, the funding. Why? Remember, just I think last week, the government has said they have reduced
University fees.
university fees. They knew there was a problem, but they were not accepting it until it has become the norm of the day. Everybody knows in Kenya, William Ruto has messed up the funding of university. Because what was there, we fund all of you. And you cannot determine without a scientific process how much money you're going to fund an individual. You can't say you're going to fund everybody. Not everybody needs money. There are some who prefer, they are called to private universities, but because they're able, in government, but they take their children to private universities. So when you're funding, you must look at it holistically. Remember, you have lecturers who must be sustained in schools. You have support staff. The money you give to an institution does not only go to the issue of the child only, it also goes to other sustaining support structures. And so on different sectors, on education sector, like I told you, number one, fund basic education. Under the Basic Education Act, it is a right for you to access education. Just fund it 100%.
Fair enough.
It is not expensive for the country. Just remove extravagancies in government. Stop buying so many cars. Stop empowerment programs because they're using government money. You know, those helicopters, everything, they are using government money.
Okay, fair enough. We're getting to the tail end of this conversation.
Yes.
Now, as an opposition, I don't know what you have to say in regards to the electoral body. They took oath of office, but sentiments by the allies of President William Ruto in regards to matters election rigging are raising serious concerns about the credibility of the elections in 2027.
Yes. We have no problem with the IBC. IBC, the individuals who are there, personally, I have no issue with them. I just want to tell them they must be guided by the law. The chairman and the commissioners have a sacred duty to keep peace in this country, to provide a roadmap to the election. We might have not participated in their coming in, but because they are Kenyans, it's okay, let them serve. But let me give you the warning. The country is held together by institutions. The IEBC is an institution established to provide sanctity to elections. It is supposed to be a fair institution. Could be they were friends of the president, could be they were friends of allies of the president, but now they are serving the country. And they have a sacred duty before God and even man. Most importantly, even if President William Ruto had any of his brothers, anybody allied to him, we have no problem because IEBC, under the 2013 rule of the Supreme Court, the IEBC cannot change the election of a polling station. The most important election is that happens in a polling station, and all they do is to tally. So they shall tally the results, and they shall announce the winner of an election. And so, for me, it's that IEBC has to stick to the court. But what worries at the most are two things. Number one, an MP, Oscar Sudi, says they shall top up votes. He is seconded by another MP called Kamket. The women rep for Ajia says even if the president does not have enough votes, tutamuibia. The IEBC has mandate under the law, one, to ban all those individuals not to participate in an election. Why participate in an election that you do not believe in? Number two, the IEBC is allowed to ban the political parties because the political parties has not denounced what they are saying. Because why should they participate in an election or individuals participate in an election who don't believe in the process? And let me tell you, these are people who want to disrupt peace. Their real intention is to disrupt peace. Because why say that you shall bring down an election that is forthcoming, you shall bring it down by, if you do not have the votes, you shall make sure the votes are there. It means you want to disrupt peace. IEBC must come out to those individuals, they know them, and political parties that